everyone. Welcome to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast. I'm your host, Steve Leslie, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to develop your perseverance. Stay tuned.
More from the PromoMinds podcast coming up shortly. PromoMinds. Promote your brand, transform your business. If you're looking for a profound book on mental fortitude during extremely difficult times, then I highly recommend checking out the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This book is jam-packed with real-life experiences from the 4 different internment camps, Nazi internment camps during World War II. So I highly recommend checking it out, and that's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. All right, let's get back to the show.
How to develop perseverance, determination, grit, whatever you want to call it. Perseverance is like a muscle. It's a mindset you got to get into. One of the ways that I've developed my perseverance has been through exercise, specifically running. Back in 2018, I was invited to complete a 5K run put on by MEC or MEC, Mountain Equipment Company. And I didn't even really train for it, and I did pretty good. And I started thinking, well, what would happen if I actually trained for something like this? I wanted something to do, and it was a great way to spend some time. Also, in 2018, it was a very stressful year. That was the first year that I had stepped into the main role at Highbury. And so I was stressed out. I had put on some weight. So it was a good way to lose the weight and have fun in the process. I mean, who has fun running, right? Anyways, as I started running, it was towards the end of 2018 into 2019. And I ended up going to Grant Cardone's 10X Growth Con at the start of 2019. While I was there, not only was there amazing guests, one in particular was Jesse Itzler. Up until this point, I had always thought that Jesse Itzler was just the husband of Sarah Blakely, and he didn't become famous until he married Sarah Blakely. I was completely wrong. He got up on stage and he was talking about his book, Living with a Seal. And he shared how the seal was David Goggins. And David Goggins has a book called Can't Hurt Me. In this book and in this speech, Jesse Itzler talked about learning about the 40% rule, how your mind is weak. It wants to quit. And when it tells you that you need to quit, you're only about 40% of your capacity. So you have at least another 60 to go. The ratios might be off a little bit, but it's the general concept. You have a lot more to give. And I started applying this into my training. And I also started listening to Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And I was so focused on decreasing my time on a 5K. Then I started adapting this mentality of the 40% rule, which led me into another concept of his, very similar, the what if concept, where you take a look at something and you say, well, what if I could do that? What if I could run farther? What if I could do a half marathon? What if I could do a full marathon? What if I could run 100 kilometers in a single day? And that is not easy. That doesn't come overnight. That doesn't come in a month. That took over a year, close to 2 years, from starting to run to doing the 100K in a single day. And it really started with that change in mindset where I started really developing my perseverance. I would be running and I would feel like I had to stop and take a walk. And I would just say to myself, I'd see a lamppost about 100 yards away. And I'd say, okay, well, let me just run to that next lamppost and then I'll be allowed to walk. But I'd get to the next lamppost and I'd say, okay, no, I'm at the next one. Let's go to the next one. And I keep doing that and doing that. And all of a sudden, I'd complete another kilometer and another kilometer. And over time, I was able to build myself up where at the start of 2020, I ended up running half marathons for the first 3 months of the year. I would run once a week, the 21.1 kilometers. On top of that, it also helped that, the world shut down that year and you really couldn't do much anyways. So why not run? So kind of lucked out that way, I guess, in a way. But again, I go back to this mindset because once you start doing that, you start to realize, oh, I am capable of doing more. And it might not be a lot at the beginning. It might just be a little bit at a time, that 100 yards. I would apply the same component in going to the gym, where I knew that there were days that I wasn't willing to work out. I knew it. And it's easy to do it when, times are good and you're motivated. But when you're not, when you've had that extremely long day, terrible sleep, and you're just exhausted. Well, if I had to go to the gym, I would go to the gym and I'd say, all I have to do is I have to walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes and then I can leave. It was my minimum goal. And I would go and I would do that. Well, I would say at least half the times I did that, probably more like 70 or 80% of the times that I would go and just walk on the treadmill, I'd be like, well, I'm here. I've done the 5 minutes. I'll just walk another couple minutes or another 5 minutes. And maybe that was all of it. Maybe I'd go and change. Some of those times, though, I got motivated as I was on the treadmill. And it would turn into like an hour and a half workout, full-blown workout, going from being not motivated and thinking I'm tired to having a full-on workout where I'm exhausted because I've pushed myself. And as you keep doing that and you keep applying it, it starts to show up in different parts of your life. I'm a firm believer of the saying that says, how you do anything is how you do everything. Whether or not that's true, I believe it is. So if you're pushing yourself over here, as I was with running and exercise, I also started to increase my frequency in my professional world. And this is where I started really stepping into my zone and pushing the limits to, create videos, to create articles for industry magazines. I was interviewing people, signing up for coaching programs, and all of that accumulated and paid off dividends. And so I ask you, how are you building your perseverance muscle? What are you willing to do to push yourself? And again, you're not trying to run 100K in a single day tomorrow. But what if you could go an extra 100 yards? What if you could go another kilometer? What are you going to do to build your perseverance muscle? That's the question I'm going to leave you with as I wrap up this episode. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast. I'm your host, Steve Leslie. And until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of PromoMinds podcast. I'm Steve Leslie. And if you want help crafting your message
or sharing your story, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. Love coming up with ideas, and we can have a nice chat. So reach out to PromoMinds@gmail.com and I'll respond. Take care.